He wanted to play the guitar, but his family disapproved of electric music for religious reasons.
Mm.
So he had to build his own guitar using bicycle cables for strings. He had no one to show him how to play and no recordings to study, so he taught himself by watching local performers and then running home to practice.
Oh my gosh. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy, that's John, and it's time to get into some music. So, John, sir, what have you got in store for the class today, my friend?
I've got a tune by a band called, an act called Mdou Moctar.
Mdou Moctar. Okay, well, interesting.
Okay. Uh, okay, so the title of the track is Imouhar.
Okay. Things are only getting clearer. Yeah, it's safe to say I have no uh previous knowledge of this band, this act, this artist, or this track. So I am firmly flying blind here. But it all sounds very intriguing, just based off name alone and face value. So let me go off, give this thing a go, and I'll come back and let you know what I think. Ready? Loving this. I don't know if this is Middle Eastern or Northern African, but it definitely sounds like music of some Islamic culture. It sounds gorgeous. The way the guitar came in, and then all these really interesting percussions and auxiliary percussions, and even some bouncing like bass work underneath that was just beautiful. It doesn't matter where you're from. I think if you hear that, you recognize the talent and the beauty in it. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I can already tell. I can kind of check out on whatever the lyrical content is. I mean, vocally, the voice sounds beautiful, but I have no idea what's being expressed or said. But yeah, you've got that kind of like shaky approach to the way the vocal cords can almost stretch and shake and like it's like backward vibrato or something like that. In the vocal delivery is something you find in a lot of Middle Eastern music or Islamic music. So that's why I'm kind of led down this path of assumption that that's where this is originating from. But again, I don't. It matters in that it deserves its due, but it doesn't matter in that like how it factors into the enjoyment of the song. It's just beautiful. Oh, fucking harmonies, man. guitar notes are just dancing.
إيموها غوينا لغار في اللنا ديفا ورياض ورسنان تماشى ورسنان تماشى ورسنان نكتبني
Hypnotic.
إيموها غوينا لغار في اللنا رسينا تماشى رسينا نكتبني ورسينا تماشى ورسينا نكتبني
Even the hand claps are fabulous. Okay. Electric guitars forward in this sort of second half we got here.
إيموها غوينا لغار في اللنا ديفا ورياض ورسينا تماشى
Okay, so this is interesting because when this sort of the second half of this story started, let's call it that, the electric guitar came more into picture. And just even as it started, before the electric guitar even really became super forward, I was like, oh, this is kind of reminding me of the blues for some reason. And now I hear they're using this tactic, which I hear a lot in American blues, where it's like this almost sort of this call and response dynamic of the lead singer and the lead guitar part, where a stanza of lines is delivered and then a flourish of electric guitar kind of takes the baton and responds to that stanza, and there's that playful dynamic between singer and lead guitar flourish, and it sort of goes back and forth like a lovely game of tennis, and they're using that tactic here, which is really interesting because this is, while it's reminiscent of, it's the most vague reminiscence. So clearly not apples to apples, but there are some similarities, and it's just really interesting and fun to find that common through line in two very disparate songs from very different cultures. I just think that's super cool. So yeah, let's see where we go here. We got about 3 minutes left.
تماشى ورسينا نكتبني
So good.
Imouhar يفينا غشوارا كونات يكتبنا قبل خويا نواني إنكا وكتبني إنكا بواني
These harmonies. That's good. Mm. God damn. That was quite an experience. Now, this isn't clearly my go-to genre, but man, I'm really glad that John offered this up to me because I mean, there's plenty of songs where sure John's the one that has offered it up to me first and I've heard it and it's been a great experience or what have you, but there's a stronger likelihood that someone else down the line or maybe even myself upon falling down a rabbit hole of music searches one night may have stumbled across those songs for a vast majority of them. Not all of them, but this is certainly one that I can't imagine would have. So it makes me appreciate it all that much more because I would never have sought this out. And I don't think that my algorithm would have sent this my way. Whereas perhaps some of the other stuff that he's given me, my algorithm may have dropped it in and said, "Oh, check this out, play next or whatever." I doubt this would have ever come close to my radar. But I'm really glad that John gave it to me because this is and this was something really, really interesting and different. And I know it's that classical case of like this classic case of a Westerner listening to music that is clearly, more Eastern in nature and treating it as this mysterious, mystical thing when, it's just part of their culture and that's okay. I don't want to create this sort of otherism about it, like, oh, it's far off and different. But it is different from what I'm used to listening to. I guess for me, it's not something that I run from because it's not part of my culture. It's actually something that is injected like a bit of flavor and another you know part of the world's perspective on music and instrumentation and all that stuff, and it all sounds so good. And like I said, there's still these common threads that you can latch onto. Yeah, this doesn't sound like a Western rock and roll song or something, but there are bits and pieces of it that you can take away from and be amazed by or influenced by or anything. All these different positive things you could take away from listening to music that is maybe outside of your typical comfort zone. Um, Yeah, it was moving to hear it. It had like this kind of hypnotic effect, and there's gorgeous harmonies and all these really interesting, percussive instruments that were used. You've got this acoustic kind of guitar sound. You've got this electric kind of guitar sound, and maybe John's going to be like, "No, actually, it's not a guitar at all. It's this instrument." But they're akin to that, and they sounded gorgeous, man. Everything about this was a lot of fun to listen to. Um, Captivating in a lot of ways, and probably because it is a bit different to me. Um, but man, yeah, I'm really glad that John offered this up. I had a really interesting first listen to this, and there will be subsequent ones, I'm sure. I'd love to learn more about this act, this individual. I don't even know. So let's get back to John and continue this very interesting and thought-provoking school day here at the Audiophiles.
Challenge Annika, he's back. So we had to listen to Imouhar, Injustice version, I might add, by Mdou Moctar. Um, that is the name of the lead singer, his stage name, and guitarist, but it's also the name of the band. It's the name for both the collective and him.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
what did you think of it all?
There was a lot to think. So it starts with this beautiful acoustic guitar, and it's soon complemented by these intense rhythmic drums and percussions, and almost this bouncing like bass work that grows as the song progresses. Um, the vocals soon accompany the music, and they are clearly delivered in a language I am not familiar with. But all of this sounds very uh, like an Islamic style of music, and even the vocals are taking me to either, I don't know, the Middle East or Northern Africa, some hotbed for this kind of music and culture. But regardless of what exactly it is, it sounds. And this is interesting because you used this word to describe the Echo and the Bunnyman track that we just covered, which at this point will have already aired on the channel. It's mystic. And I know that is it's because I'm this Westerner listening to this like sort of other style of music, but it has this like mystically fantastic kind of sound to it, at least on these Western ears. And then, holy shit, the harmonies that pour through the speakers of my earphones at the 114 mark are so pure and lush and perfect. There's no flaw in any of the vocals that are delivered here. They sound amazing. It should be pointed out that the occasional flourishes and just the overall picking and plucking style of the guitars are superb and add so much flavor to this musical dish. Also, the percussion work in all its forms is almost trance-inducing, which is another way that you described the music from the Echo and the Bunnyman track. This has that as well. It's just this sort of trance-inducing, intense swirling patterns that are impossible to ignore. At around the halfway point of the song, the music pulls back, which temporarily breaks the spell of the music that it had put on me. And now we are introduced to the sounds of hand claps, an old favorite here at the channel, and some electric guitar work as the percussion slowly creep back into the picture. Now, at some point, you could jump in here and be like, "That is not an electric guitar. It's this other instrument that sounds very similar." I'm not sure. Maybe it is an electric guitar.
It's a guitar.
Okay, good, good, excellent. But it sounds great, and it definitely is a sound that you. I mean, it sounds like an electric guitar, but the way it's played, the style of play, is a bit different than what I think
Yes.
most of us are used to here in our side of the world. So it made it that much more interesting to listen to. There is this interesting tactic that I've heard used in countless times in American blues music. in which the singer will deliver a stanza of lyrics, which upon completion is then accented or emphasized by a flourish of lead guitar work. It's a tale as old as time in that genre. So it's fun to hear that same method being employed during this portion, where this kind of call and response between our singer and the guitar is going down. It is something I'm used to, but repackaged in a way that I'm not. So that made it all that much more fun and interesting to experience. More stellar harmonies appear after this portion, which then give way to a bit more of this killer string work on the electric guitar. There is an extended bit of instrumental work after this, with so many moving parts that are all working together to create this beautiful tapestry of sonic delight. Even your oft frowned upon hand claps are adding spice to this dish as it weaves and winds its way through to the final minute plus of the music before it comes to a soft landing at the 8:30ish mark, which is, I mean, some of the quickest 8.5 minutes I've ever experienced in music. This song. So yeah, this isn't my go-to genre of music. That comes as a surprise to probably absolutely nobody, and certainly not something I likely would have stumbled across unless someone had offered it up to me. So I consider myself fortunate that you have sent this over to me, um, to give it a listen to, because it has so much going for it. Wonderful texture and rich with layers. This song really took me for a ride, one that I enjoyed very much. And so, yeah, I think I said at the end of my reaction, I don't want to, just repeat myself, but just for the sake of you and I talking right now and my whole reaction, you've given me plenty of songs before that I'm like, oh, it's great that John has offered this up to me because I haven't heard this yet. But it wouldn't have been outside the realm of possibility for me to have stumbled upon some of those tracks through the algorithms of the different platforms of music that I use to listen to, offering it up as a suggestion. And so maybe 15 or 20% of the songs you've given to me, I may have stumbled upon organically down the road at some point. I can assure you that this isn't one of them. There's no rabbit hole I would have gone down that would have queued this up as a suggested song to listen to. I highly doubt it anyway. So that makes this exchange all that much more special to me, because there are chances that I would have heard some of the great ones you've given to me in the past elsewhere or through other means. I don't know if I could say the same for this one. So that, again, is another reason why I love doing this channel and exchanging music and coming across stuff I haven't heard before. Yeah, this was a sonic delight listening to this song. Also, some really cool bass flourishes too here and there throughout that I caught that really stood out to me, and sounded lovely. So please tell me more about them and this song, and please, I can't wait for you to go over the lyrics with me.
I'm all covered. So, yeah, just to explain briefly how I got to this band. Um, Back on Into the Music, right at the end when Greg was sort of considering, stepping backwards. We did a couple of episodes, and I think you did a couple of episodes with him as well, which never saw the light of day. We recorded them, and then he went away to edit them, and then he decided, guys, I'm stepping back, and so they just went off into ether. And one of them was this really interesting African band doing sort of what I would call, desert blues, which I had a faint connection with because I'd listened to some Mali blues stuff before. But it was really interesting. All I remember was it was a KEXP live. It was in like a tent, but with wooden sides, but with canvas top, and it was really cool. It was fantastic. The guy played like bloody Jimi Hendrix, this electric guitar. It was amazing, and I didn't really, I couldn't remember what it was, and it kind of goes out of your mind because you're waiting for the episode to drop, which it never did. So I spent a while sort of looking and trying to work out who the hell this was, and I finally managed to track it down. And it's this guy in this band, and I'm still not sure which song it was because my memory's not great. But it's either Taliat or Tala Tanan off this album, which I managed to get. So that's where I got to. So I'll tell you a bit about the band, the guy. It's really interesting. I could go on forever. I won't. Let's get started. So Muhammad Abdul Suleiman born in 1984, is known professionally as Mdou Moctar, and he is a Nigerian guitarist, singer, songwriter. He performs modern rock music inspired by Tuareg guitar music. This is commonly known as desert blues, but it's also known as Saharan rock, Mali blues, Tuareg rock, and it comes from the Saharan region of northern and western Africa. So you're sort of Mali, Niger, Libya, Algeria, Burkina Faso, and certain other areas. Um, so Mdou Moctar was born in Abalak, Niger. He wanted to play the guitar, but his family disapproved of electric music for religious reasons.
Mm.
So he had to build his own guitar using bicycle cables for strings. He had no one to show him how to play and no recordings to study, so he taught himself by watching local performers and then running home to practice.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He sings in the forgive me for all my pronunciations because I'm making a stab at it. But there you go. He sings in the Tamashek language, which is a variety of Tuareg from the nomadic Berber people whose tribes feature across that north and western region of Africa. They're displaced and nomadic, as I say. There's about 2.8 million of them speak the language. Tuareg has got three variants, of which one is Tamashek. His music first gained attention through trading network of mobile phones and memory cards in West Africa. It's really interesting, this cultural difference. This is why I was really fascinated to hear what you've thought of it as well, because you're coming completely cold from this. His first album, Anar, in 2008, was not officially released at the time, but the songs became really popular across the Sahel region, where they went viral through mobile phone music trading networks. And many of his initial songs were shared as MP3 files, person to person, through Niger, throughout Niger, through Bluetooth, without his involvement. So it's almost like trading and giving people tapes, or whatever, but it's done through Bluetooth transfer. But it's person to person, which I really like, rather than off the ether. They're meeting in cafes and stuff, and and it costs, as you quite rightly said, most of them are Muslims, so it'd be non-alcoholic places, but they're just trading through their phones. Oh, I've got this, He became aware of international interest in his music in 2014. In quotes, I first met Christopher Kirkley of Sahel Sounds, which is an American record label from Portland that specializes in music from the Saharan region. This guy, Christopher Kirkley, went over there, heard all this stuff, said, holy shit, went back, set up a record label and started doing it to distribute it out. Anyway, he called him up on a mobile phone and he said, it's a weird conversation, as I thought it was my cousin pulling a joke on me, so I hung up. This American guy kept calling me, saying he wanted to work with me for my music. It just couldn't be real. He called me again and we talked. He came to visit me in my village and also sent me a left-handed guitar, which is really hard to find in Niger. This guitar had crossed several African countries to arrive in my hands, and I've been playing it ever since.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
later on, he moved to Matador Records, which is a pretty major label within the sort of indie music business, and he got much wider releases with each album. His sixth album, Afrique Victime, this one here, was released in 2021, and it received really positive reviews from international publications, including Rolling Stone, Paste, Pitchfork, and The Guardian. So all these people are actually now paying attention to this guy who's still living in a village in Africa. This is so cool. His seventh album, Funeral for Justice, in 2024, is this one here. You just have a look at the cover. You can see this sort of really interesting cover. It explores cultural and political themes, including the impact of foreign interference in Nigerian affairs and the replacement of indigenous languages with colonial ones. They've got a big colonial past with France. Africa's obviously been plundered by various European countries. Metacritic scored Funeral for Justice 90 out of 100. Universal acclaim. It is the fourth highest rated album of 2024 Metacritic. Glide magazine. While Mokhtar's fire-breathing guitar playing will grab the headlines, it is the drumming that truly adds an extra punch throughout the album. Funeral for Justice found the bands flying high while creating songs they believe passionately in, resulting in the strongest album of Mdou Moctar's career. Music OMH scored it 5 out of 5, declaring it a fantastic album, which may be the best of an already excellent run of albums produced by the greatest rock band in the world. The New York Times called this release a cri de coeur of screaming guitars and lyrics decrying the legacy of colonialism in Niger and throughout Africa. The Observer rated Funeral for Justice 5 out of 5, stating it doesn't pull any punches, whether tackling the disastrous legacy of French colonialism and the failures of African leaders to build up their countries, or the way that Mokhtar's native Tamashek language is at risk of dying out as it loses out to the French amongst younger people. Paste magazine called it punctuated by boisterous cymbal crashes and Mokhtar's signature shredding. It is an undeniable rallying cry, a celebration of Tuareg culture and simultaneously a denunciation of France's exploitation and profit from Niger's uranium reserves. Pitchfork praised the incendiary political lyrics. It's impossible to miss, from the blood dripping off the crows on its album cover to the screeching guitars that open its first song. It's the proud sound of rebellion transposed from Tamashek to a language that refused to be misinterpreted. Pop Matters raised this album 10 out of 10, writing that even by Mdou Moctar's high standards, Funeral for Justice is extraordinary. It is searing in music and lyrics with messages that are essential in a world on fire and whose sounds can carry those messages far and wide. More than any previous Mdou Moctar album, it feels alive. Moctar and his whole band are in the room with their listeners, fanning the flames of righteous resolve and reminding us that if justice is dead, there's no more fitting tribute to it than raising our voices on its behalf. However, you may be wondering here that that wasn't particularly screaming guitars and drums, because the song you heard isn't from that album. Because in 2025, or just a couple of months ago, they released this album, which is called Tears of Injustice, which is an acoustic reworking of the album Funeral for Justice. So what you heard is this version of that song. Imouhar is the second song on this album as well. So they've done song for song, they've just reworked them. I have to say, the song off this album is fucking brilliant. And I wonder if you like this, which I think you do, I'm probably going to give you this version because it's very different. It is 100 miles an hour. It is screaming guitars. It is amazing.
Okay.
Really is cool as hell.
Yeah. So you're going to give me
However,
the same exact track, but in this shown in a different light. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah. But this I absolutely adore as well, because it has such a different vibe to it. And in this version, you really hear the percussion for a start, and the harmonizing vocals are just wonderful.
Yeah.
And then I'll get into the rest of it anyway. So the band, just to Mdou Moctar, lead guitar and vocals, Amadou Madassane, rhythm guitar, backing vocals, Mikey Colton, bass guitar, backing vocals, and Suleiman Ibrahim, drums, percussion, backing vocals. As you might guess from the personnel, Michael is the only Westerner. He's American. He does most of the production now as well.
Okay.
He started off as a solo artist and then had a band in the last sort of four or 5 years. Anyway, again to the lyrics. These are the English version because I cannot pronounce Tamashek, and I would murder it. So, Imouhar, you know this indeed. We have a written history, written in books, and the whole world knows it. Written in books, and the whole world knows it. Imouhar, Imouhar, wherever you are Tuareg. Turbans and camels, symbols of our legacy and pride. Turbans and camels, symbols of our legacy and pride. Imouhar, why are you abandoning your language, Tamashek? You stopped speaking it, you stopped writing it. You stopped speaking it, you stopped writing it. Imouhar, Imouhar, this shames us, we must confess. Waking up one day, our kids can't speak Tamashek. They can't speak Tamashek nor write it. Imouhar, Imouhar, wherever you are Tuareg. Turbans and camels, symbols of our legacy and pride. Turbans and camels, symbols of our legacy and pride. Imouhar in the Tuareg language means brother or comrade. This is to emphasize the importance of language and cultural identity. As I said, the original is just a tour de force, is more than a smattering of the Jimi Hendrix experience. And I mean that in terms of all three of the band. The drumming on it is fucking insane as well. loads of fills, really, really cool. Um, Brilliant bass as well.
Oh yeah,
But this vision just really gripped me, you know.
you're not alone.
Um, the original album version is 5 minutes and 7 seconds, and this one's just over 8 minutes. So there's the sort of second part of it, this dreamy coda and this vision with the trippy electric guitar is all bonus stuff. It's not on the original song.
Okay.
But I love it, the way the guitar ripples across. You could say it's a bit Pink Floydy, but with something else. And the way the guitar ripples, it's almost like a heat haze across a sort of dusty road. It's just wonderful. And it really
Or
just,
a desert,
yeah,
because
exactly. It just changes the whole vibe of it. Um, so, just to say, in terms of like how they're progressing as a band, during February and March 2022, Mdou Moctar were touring with 16 dates as the opening act for Brooklyn-based indie rock band Parquet Courts
oh shit.
in their North American tour. In 2023, they embarked on, and they did their own headline tour across Europe as well. In 2023, Mukhtar embarked on an American tour that included performances at the Pitchfork Music Festival and the Newport Folk Festival. During the 2023 Nigerian coup d'etat, Mokhtar and his band were unable to return to Niger. Since obtaining independence in 1960, Niger has experienced 5 coups d'etats and 4 periods of military rule. Again, they're currently under military rule now with a junta heading the country. The band at the time was stuck in America, so they launched a GoFundMe campaign on August the 3rd, 2023, for funding to remain in the United States. By August the 6th, they had raised $100,000, 3 days, with
Great.
musician Jack White amongst the donors.
Yeah.
During this period of uncertainty, the band recorded Tears of Injustice, what we just heard, album. A month later, they were able to return to Niger and their families. I haven't written this down, but I read a sort of an interview which the New Yorker did with him. They are all Muslim, and they are still pretty religious, and they follow their practices. He still lives in his village. He feeds and clothes most of the people in his village with the profits from his band. He set up schools and hospitals in his area of Niger as well. So all-round good guy, and he uses whatever fame or he considers to be or profits for it to bring up everybody else around him as well, which I think is really laudable. So yeah,
beautiful stuff. Oh man.
So I mean, apart from all that, it's just awesome music as well, and really sort of it's really, I mean, the standard album is great. It really is. It's amazing. But this has a real flavor to it that's just intoxicating, I think. I just love it. So there you go.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing it. I had a hell of a time listening to this one and look forward to listening to this is sort of alternative version, even though that the alternative version is the original, right? Version of
Yes.
it, and this is the reimagining. Yeah, I look forward to hearing that and more from these guys. This is hella interesting stuff.
It is. It is. Yeah, it won't always grip or everything, and obviously, I guess you rightly said, as Westerners sort of looking inside, some of his stuff, like is quite political about that situation, and I know next to nothing about Niger, apart from its sort of French colonial history. So yeah, we won't particularly. You can relate to struggles of people, that are struggling no matter where they are,
Yeah.
but their particular problems won't resonate as much with me because I have that not so much understanding. But the music, it doesn't matter what language he sings in, it just sounds fantastic anyway, and you can get wrapped up in it without understanding what the hell he's going on about.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's amazing stuff, man.
It is cool. I shall wrap things up. Thanks for listening, Sandy. I'm glad you liked it. More to come. Folks out there, tell us what you think. There's probably people who know a lot more about Mdou Moctar than I do, and several of my pronunciations during this episode. So please feel free to tell us where we went wrong, and extra info if you can add to it. If you like this, please do hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do. More of this meaty goodness could be falling on your lap get yourself a lap tray. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
We'll see you later, guys.